Hello and welcome to Ham Nation episode 508 for November 4th, 2021. And how's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Now host for Ham Nation. Again, appreciate you taking your time out on your busy Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, to check out what's new in ham radio and have some fun. Today we're going to be talking about youth on the air. We're going to have a bit of kit information, a gift buying list, if you will, from Joe. Going to catch up with Gordon on the short shots for what he's got going on, which is always a fun little Thanksgiving event. And then we'll round it out with Amateur Radio Newsline. So let's welcome the hosts. We'll start right up there with Joe. How's it going, Joe? Haven't had you out in a little while. Glad to see you again.
Well, good to see you, Josh. Yeah, it's been 4 weeks, and glad to be on. And I got to see Gordo, of course, in Pacificon, and great to see him. And it's time to look at some things if you're looking for gift items or nice things to get for the holiday for your kit builder ham. I have just the list of just some simple things, and I've checked them all out that they're actually available right now.
Ooh. Well, I was commenting before the show, every time we have Joe on, I end up spending money. So he's the most expensive guest that we have and host on the show. So thanks again, Joe, for coming out. Let's go down to Dawn. Dawn, how you doing on this day before Thanksgiving?
I am doing great. I'm thankful for many, many things. You guys know I found my sister because I was, if you don't know, I was adopted at birth and found my sister like 3 years ago on my mother's side. Well, turns out that I just got a hit on my paternal side, and I found a first or second cousin, I believe. So just this week, so I've been getting to know her. She's up in the St. Louis area, so that's kind of cool too. And yeah, it's been a really good week. Got a lot to be thankful for, and the list is I could take up the whole show. In fact, talking about all the things that I have to be thankful for. But we've got a neat little bit of interesting history for you. Of course, football goes along with Thanksgiving and turkey, and we've got some interesting centennial football information for you tonight coming up just before Newsline. And we got Dr. T, too, so yeah, it's going to be a good show.
All right. We'll go up there and say hi to Gordo. Gordo, I know you got a lot going on for tomorrow. How you doing?
We're doing fine. And let me say, Joe really was a big help at Pacificon during some of the seminars we were both offering. And tomorrow we head for the beach, and all of you folks will see what we're going to do as long as the wind cooperates.
I'm hopeful that it doesn't kick up. So very excited about that. And Amanda, how are you doing?
Fantastic. Guess what? Today is the first day of snow for wintertime here in Colorado.
Wow.
So we actually have white stuff on the ground. It's kind of fun. Gordo, as much as I would like to go join you on the beach, I'm going to go roll in the snow before it melts.
Okay.
Anyhow, we have a good time. We have a fabulous show lined up, as everyone's already told you. Without further ado, I guess I'll introduce our guests. You want me to do that?
Yeah, let's just mention.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just mention that we'll be taking your comments as things go along. So if you ask questions for any of the segments, make sure to drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure to get into them. So yeah, take it away, Amanda.
Yeah, try to highlight me so I actually see it. I try to pay attention,
Amanda.
I swear. All right, we have some fantastic guests here tonight. I'd like to introduce some of our youth on the air. But we first have the coordinator for that here in Neil. I'm going to say it's Region 1, is what I'm assuming. Maybe we're not Region 1, maybe Region 2. You guys are shaking your heads no, so I've already messed that up. Anyhow, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, is here. And also I'd like to welcome Case Van Oosprey. Is that how you pronounce it? I hope so. Anyhow, W0AAE. And they're going to be talking about their special event coming up this month. So, Case, I'm going to kind of kick it over to you. And why don't you tell us about Youth on the Air in December?
Yeah, so Youth on the Air December is basically just getting as many youth as possible on the air all around the world, actually. There are many, many stations around the world, some in Africa, some in Europe, and some in Asia. And pretty much what we're trying to do is get as many youth on the air with special call signs. So we have special event call signs that we'll be using And in the Americas here, we'll be using K8Y, K8O, K8T, and K8A here, and they spell YOTA. That's the suffix there. And yeah, pretty much we just collect a bunch of youth operators ages 0 to 25, and we pretty much put them on the air with the call sign.
Fun. So what are you going to be operating everywhere, everything, all bands, modes, that kind of thing?
Yep, all bands, all modes. I believe there's a few of us that are going to do satellites and stuff like that. I will at least be doing that, and a lot of HF. And yeah, we're getting a few more people interested, and hopefully a lot more people come on.
Great. And Josh is nice enough to take us to your guys' website, and we appreciate that, Josh. And the other thing I had a question about is around the world, they also use designators, kind of special call signs, so we'll be able to see them on the Spotter network and know that they're youth on the air. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So in America here, we actually do not have the privilege of having a 4-letter suffix, so we have to do the 1-letter suffix at the end. But I remember this was before I was involved in YOTA, I believe, or maybe I had the call sign. But a few years ago, I made a contact with a Great Britain YOTA call sign, and I remember seeing that YOTA at the end, and that was pretty fun to meet other youth on the air. But yeah, we will have call signs all over the world, and I believe if you get a certain amount of them, you get a certificate, an online certificate for that. Neil can back me up on that.
Yeah, can you, Neil?
Yes, you can. There are different levels for different points that you get for working different YOTA stations. So if you go to the events.ham-YOTA.com website, that's the IRU Region 1, which is Europe and Asia, part of Asia and Africa. Anyway, they're the ones that are actually running this. But they're trying to expand it into all 3 IRU regions. So we've been doing this. This is our 3rd year now doing it. And Bryant, KVG5HVO, has been the coordinator of that for the Americas, which is Region 2 of the IRU. And this year we brought on Case to be his assistant, and so he's in training to take over when Bryant is off at college working his tail end off. So
and Case, we have to studying. Case, we have to ask you, how did you get involved in Youth on the Air?
So I got involved. I think it was 2019. I don't remember, but I remember getting a catalog from CQ magazine, and it had an advertisement for the Youth on the Air camp that would have been happening last year, 2020, but sadly that was canceled due to COVID-19. But it actually happened this year, which was even better. We really enjoyed it. But in 2019, I remember getting the magazine and reading up on it. And I said to my mom, "Hey, this is a great thing to apply to. Let's try it out." And we did. And I got in the loophole with that, and I met Neil. Well, actually, I met Neil after that. I contacted him on a contest that us youth were making, and he put our contest advertisement on the Youth on the Air website, and we really appreciated that. It's the contest has kind of gone down in popularity, but we had fun making it and coding some contest checkers and everything like that. But that was fun to do, and he got us in the loophole with Youth on the Air, and he's really fun to work with.
Fantastic. I've heard that Neil can be some fun. Other things. So, you got involved with Youth on the Air, but what do you like to do? What kind of operations do you like? SSB, CW, digital?
So I'm an all mode kind of person. I'm mostly into CW. I can copy about 60 words a minute of CW.
Wow.
That's just call signs. I can't do rag chewing for very long, but I do SO2R contesting at my station here, and I like to do the Wednesday night CWTs that Brian used to do. I think he's still into them, but it's a lot of fun to do those, and I love increasing my contesting skills.
Amazing. Well, great. I'm so glad you're on board here. And this is probably for both of you and Neil. There's some pretty familiar youth faces on the YOTA team. I mean, I could if I listed them all, I'd probably miss out on somebody. But we've got Chris Brault, who's now a leader, right?
Yep.
Aubrey and Jack. Boy, who else? There's lots of youth. I know I'm forgetting a lot of people. I think there was an Emily. Tell us some of the familiar faces that we probably recognize.
You pretty much listed a lot of them. We have NN1C, that's Marty. He's kind of stepped out since he's gone to college, and he's quite old now. I think he's 19 or 20, but he's kind of gotten out of it. But we have Bryant as well. But I think you pretty much listed all of them, and all of those, most of those people, I should say, were at the camp this summer, and it was great to meet all the faces that I remember seeing in the Zoom calls and seeing their pictures online. It was great to just have some fun with them this past summer.
Absolutely. It looks like you guys had so much fun. I'm not sure. I don't know how you guys learned anything with all the fun you're having. Neil, it looks like, according to your website, you guys are doing another camp next year?
We are. We're in the plans. Was I muted? You're hearing me okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're fine.
Okay. All right. I had it muted for a second, so just want to make sure. But yeah, we're in the early planning stages. We have our plan A and plan B decided, and so we're working on making sure that all the facilities are available that we need. And so we'll be announcing those dates here in a few months. But we will have another summer camp in 2022. So stay tuned. You'll be hearing much more about it. And this year is really about training the next group to take over. So, I was the camp director last year. I'm the camp director this year. I'm not going to be the camp director the following year. So what we're doing is we're training the young people to run the camp. And so this summer, a lot of our returning campers will be there as helpers. We're going to have everybody in training. We're going to have, we're planning on having bids for where the next YOTA camp will be. And it's kind of like the Olympics. People can bid to host it. And so whoever wins that, we want to train them at the camp this summer, so that way it will kind of just keep perpetuating itself. So we're kind of getting the start on that with Case here on the YOTA month. We're training him and filling him in on how all this works, so that way he can kind of take over, and then he'll pass it on to somebody else. And that's really the idea of this, is to have the youth doing everything. So that's why I'm just sitting here going, go.
Well, I did get I got a pretty good question from the chat room here. Someone wanted to know, so do you actually need your license to be part of YOTA, or is it kind of like GOTA? Go ahead and answer that, Case.
Yeah, so you have to have a license. We accept all licenses, technician through Extra. Really anybody can get on. You can do just VHF, UHF stuff with satellites like that, and you get quite a pile up on the satellites. But it's mostly general and extra class operators. That seems to be where it's headed. But there's still a lot of technicians out there that can really join and join in on the fun. And if you have a friend or an Elmer that is actually a higher class than you, so let's say you're a technician, you have like an extra class Elmer, he can be with you on HF, and you can use the call sign. So you can use K8A, for instance, and with your Elmer beside you, and it's pretty fun. I think there were a couple people on the past 2 years that did that. I'm not 100% sure on that.
That it sounds like that would be fun, and it's a great way to learn on the air and learn some techniques and some skills. I can't let you guys go without bringing in Dawn, because this is probably warming Dawn's heart to hear all of these ladder young ham of the years being so significant still on amateur radio, wouldn't you say, Don?
Yeah, it's kind of like old home week for those of us who help out with the amateur radio newsline. Bill Pasternak, WA6 YTF or ITF Young Ham of the Year Award, and yeah, they all bring back really great memories hearing those names, except for Marty. Nobody likes Marty. Well, a little bit.
All right. Well, Case or Neil, Case, I'll send it to you. Anything else we need to know about the upcoming month? Something we need to jot down to make sure we work you all?
Well, I would just like everybody to get other youth on the air. Let's say you have another youth friend, whether he's technician, general, or extra. Tell him about tell him or her about YOTA and get them involved in our little thing here. And maybe they can sign up for the camp next year or this year, or get in to the call signs that we're going to be using this month.
That would be fun. And I do one more very important question for up and coming youth that weren't sure how to get involved in YOTA or the camp or your whole group. Is this an organized club? Do they have to do anything to join up with you guys and gals? That kind of thing.
Yeah, there's really no you couldn't really call it a club because we don't really accept people. They just kind of get in our system and we have fun. That's how I got into it. I had no clue what I was doing. I kind of just signed up and they took me in. Neil took me in, and it's just been a blast, honestly. I never thought I'd get this far in the group and everything. I'm currently the QSL manager for the W8Y, which was the call sign that we used this past summer. Like, I didn't know I was going to do that, but Neil was looking for people to do that, and I just signed up for that. And it's so much fun. I've been sending out cards all over the world and everything. And it looks like they're showing pictures right now. That's of us at the camp. That was in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting. So yeah, I'll pass it over to Neil for any closing remarks there. Yeah,
A couple of things here. Back to the licensed thing or unlicensed. We do a lot to get youth licensed, but we don't do a whole lot to keep youth licensed, to keep them. And so that's what this program is about. So we're not into, putting on a tech class for, a whole bunch of kids. We can do that already. This is going up to the next level and trying to keep our young hams in ham radio. The other thing that I will mention, and Josh, I'm putting you on the spot here, if you can bring that YOTA month page back up, is to keep track of where all the YOTA stations are around the world. If you go to the YOTA page there, go to On the Air, and then the first link should be December YOTA month, which will take you back to where you were a while ago. The first one, December YOTA month, very first one. Yep, right there.
There you go.
Yeah, if you scroll down there just a little bit, there is a link in great big letters. Yep, there it is. To see the spots on DX of all the YOTA stations, click here. And what that will do is it'll take you to DX Summit, but it will put a filter in so that it only brings up YOTA call signs.
Nice.
So that's an easy way to keep track of that. And I use this constantly when I'm trying to find, who's on the air, when they're on the air. It's so much easier to hit that than it is to just keep scrolling through, scrolling, trying to find those stations. So if you go to youthontheair.org and go to On the Air and December YOTA month there, you'll be able to click on that link, and it just makes it real easy to find where all these young people are going to be all next month. And then at the end of the month is part 3 of the YOTA contest. So I think that's the 30th, if I remember correctly. So there's an actual YOTA contest that started up this year. And so don't miss part 3, and it'll be right at the end of December YOTA month.
Fantastic. Well, thanks you two for joining us. We're sorry. Bryant was going to join us as well, and he's always been a great guest on here, and it was unfortunate he couldn't get in, but he said he was just going to throw Case under the bus tonight. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us. And from all of us, I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely.
Happy
you guys,
Thanksgiving, everybody.
and to Julie as well. You guys can stick around or you can hang up. It's your choice. So, but I'm going to kick it over to Gordo because he's got some short shots for us. Take it away, Gordo.
All right. Thanks so much. And Neil, Carol Perry and I remember you and getting involved with Ham Radio Youth on the Air probably 30 years ago. And look at all you've done. This is terrific. And we can't wait to hear some of these kids operating. And absolutely correct. To get the license is just the beginning. Getting them on the air and keeping them on the air, that's what we're all striving for. Well, this day tomorrow, we hopefully won't have a whole bunch of sand in our teeth and in our turkey. Let's take a look and see what we do out here on the West Coast to get folks on the air in a very strange way every Thanksgiving. The beach is a typical Southern California beach, but very vacant during the winter months. This is Bolsa Chica State Beach, and the fire rings are plentiful. The parking is ample, and there's nobody there. Just waiting for an antenna or a turkey or two to hit town. So Chip and Janet, K7JA, KL7MF, and there's Susie in 6GLF in the center. The three of us, plus me, we get down there and we begin schlepping stuff to the nearest fire ring because we want to go on the air, battery operated, totally portable, with a little bit of fire to keep us warm in case there's a slight breeze. And we're going to be setting up. And as you can see, not only do we set up the ham radio sets, but we also set up all the accoutrements for baking a turkey in hot oil. And as you can see, when our late afternoon comes along here on the beach, wow, great conditions to talk to Asia right at the water nearby. And last year, Joe had the strongest signal. And Josh may come down and say, let's see what we can do about rounding up even more folks and more kids. Well, there's our mascot, Mr. Turkey. First things first, we set up the table, we get the coffee going and all the drinks going. Way in the background is the parking lot. So you can see we really got a heft to get all this stuff going. For Chip and Janet, Chip says, hey, no problem. I got military masts. I sprayed them white and they're going to go slick as can be. And we're all thinking, guy wires? I mean, how can you pound a mast into the sand? Especially when you've got a homebrew beam antenna, and you can see the little matching section coming off of the beam antenna feed point. Well, here's how you get them into the sand, and without damaging the military post, a little pounding, and believe it or not, even with Chip's homebrew beam antenna, which is fishing poles with wire wrapped around it, perfectly tuned, catch this, tuned to 14.280, maybe 290, but look for us tomorrow around 14.280 to 14.290 beach portable. And we're also going to be operating 21.355. And we're also going to be operating for technician class operators down on 28,400. And for you generals and above, we're even going to try some FM at 29.6 simplex. But anyway, we pound stuff in there. We got to get the mast absolutely straight. You don't want a mast that's going to lean. And as you can see, this is one of those ideal days on Thanksgiving where there's no wind, plenty of nice sunshine, and a lot of help. And of course, the sunshine, because we're operating absolutely portable, there's no 110 AC run out to the fire pit. There's Chip on the right, and he's making contacts right off the bat. I'm still putting up the antenna. And we're going to try again another test of the loop antenna. And you see the loop antenna out in the far. We had to keep it away from the mast because it detuned it. But once we got the loop all squared away, and Mike is going to be our loop guy that's going to be tuning around. And if the weather cooperates, Josh will be there and maybe hooking up a 705 on the loop or some of the others. And this is the Chameleon antenna loop. And they really have a nice job of how they've got it graduated to be able to hear the resonant points. And I wouldn't so much go by where they have it printed on the wonderful dial, and it's a veneer dial where you turn it and things just happen so smoothly. It's not like one-on-one. It's like 50-to-1, so you can get it right on the schnauzer for maximum noise, minimum SWR. And away we go. And there's Mike. He's going to be there. He's the official tuner. And Chip is going to say, there it is, minimum SWR. Let's go for it. And we're going to make some contacts at the beach. On a loop antenna, if we're using one that is a rigid loop, you want to make sure that there is minimal R²R losses. Any resistance is going to really add up to lost output capabilities. So make sure that if you've got a put together loop, like we do with a wonderful Chameleon loop, that you really dog down all of those connections, because just a half an ohm and it's going to cost you big power. Coming off of most loop antennas is an RF shield to keep any RF from the shield from coming down the shield and getting into the equipment. So the chokes are right there at the feed point on the loop antenna, and they do a wonderful job of keeping everything cool. Look at that sand. Isn't that great? No, it's not great if the wind is blowing. If the wind is blowing, sand will get into the optical encoder of anyone's ham radio, and it could also gum up the fine tuning of the big knob, and that radio is going to be history for the rest of the life. So we have to absolutely hope for tomorrow that we have plenty of sunshine, guaranteed, and that we have no wind. Unfortunately, it's predicted 30 to 50 miles an hour. That will thwart us getting on the air from the beach, but have no fear. We'll set up somewhere and we'll be able to work you hopefully on 20, 15, and maybe even 10 meters, and maybe even some interlinked repeaters on FM on UHF. Our power source is not only the sun, but the great BioNo Power. And you may say, well, a 15 amp hour battery, that's not really going to hold up for a 100-watt radio that occasionally on CW, and yes, by golly, we love CW at the beach. Believe it or not, yes, it's 15 amp hours, but there is a fudge factor, and the BioNo Power will keep that radio humming at 13.2 volts. This comes from Unlimited Electronics. What it is a voltage and a current indicator of what's coming out of the solar panel and what the battery is doing. And you know, nothing beats for portable operation being able to see what's going on with how much current the unit is pulling on CW or voice peaks, or what the battery is doing. Let me tell you, if it's a BioNo battery, it's going to be happy. And here is Chip making his adjustments. That's a CW key under his right arm. And he's looking at spotting. And if you spot us tomorrow, we'll be on for several hours as long as that wind is not blowing. But wait a minute. You got to have a little bit of juice to keep things going. And, well, we're getting it ready. So as Chip's operating and everybody is getting ready and the wind is absolutely calm, hopefully tomorrow, Chip makes the first contact and he says, okay, we made our first contact. Now it's time for the second contact. And that's plenty of hot oil. Well, the oil's going in cool, but it's going to be warmed up nice and hot by the propane burner on the bottom. And in goes Mr. Turkey. This is a favorite we do every year on the beach for probably the last 20 years. I don't think we've missed a single operating event on the beach. We've had some strange weather, hopefully none that's predicted for tomorrow. But there it is, Mr. Turkey and the bubbly, and it'll be ready in no time at all. And it'll be the best flavorful turkey you've ever had. Well, a little bit of breeze must have blown down to the lifeguard headquarters about a quarter mile down the beach. So we had a visit. And they looked ominously at us, and they looked, and they said, "Do you have a license?" "Oh, yeah, yeah." And we had our federal license. And they go, "Well, that's good because I'm a ham too." So we even had our local constables guarding the beach wanting to take a hand at maybe doing a little bit of operating. So it's always fun. And then out of the blue, the sky blue, my Coast Guard auxiliary buddies, they didn't land, but it looked like they wanted to drop the hoist for us to hoist them up or get hoisted up a little bit of turkey legs. But it's always fun to see our folks that we serve that are serving us by always watching what's going on. One of the great things we found at the beach when the wind does begin to pick up, and it's a little hard to hear sometimes, is an audio boost, but not just a regular audio boost. This is the Heil system, and this audio setup is a wonderful called the parametric receive audio system that allows you to tailor exactly the amount of bass, the amount of treble, the amount of high cut, low cut, and it's all right adjustable. Bob Heil and Sarah and all of their team have done a wonderful job. It goes to an amplified speaker, so you will need another 12 volts to keep this system humming, but it really makes a difference if you're trying to pull a weak signal out of the noise. Again, it's called the Heil Parametric Receive Audio System, and let me tell you, it works great, especially in the wild. Well, now it's turkey time, and as you can see, look at that turkey, perfectly balanced. Even my cat in the background here is wanting a little bite of turkey. Sorry, Mr. Cat. And as soon as they get it out there, we all dive right in. And as you can see, that's one of those bright, sunny days down in Newport Beach. Bring the firewood, you bet. And we'll have hot dogs over the fire as well after the turkey and plenty of s'mores. But the big deal is no wind. Every day there's always a sea breeze that comes in from the ocean, and the sea breeze is maybe 5 to 7 miles an hour coming in about 2 in the afternoon. That's a great time to start the fire after the turkey has been completely gobbled up. However, tomorrow we have, unfortunately, the Thanksgiving, and it occurs every 3 or 4 years, offshore wind. And it's a red flag warning all the way down to the beach, and we're a little concerned because normally the incoming beach weather with coming over the cool water causes the wind to stop. But this afternoon on our ham watch, our fire watch, we found that stations were reporting 30 to 40 miles per hour wind heading toward the ocean. So that means things are going to get rough. Well, we hope not too rough that we'll get sand in the gears of the ham sets or anything like that. But we're prepared for almost anything. We may get visits. Josh says if the right conditions are there, we'll come on down and get on our 705 and some of the other rigs. We'll have plenty of antennas, and if you're anywhere near Bolsa Chica State Beach in California, look for the antennas. And again, Neil, we want kids, and we need more kids. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and we hope to hear you on the air tomorrow. And if you think my hair looks funny now, wait till after all the wind tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be calling you from somewhere. Guaranteed we'll be on the air. Happy Thanksgiving all. And let's now go to Icom America, whose main rig we're going to be using a whole bunch of tomorrow. Icom, what have you got in store for us now?
Spice up your ham shack with Icom's IC705. This portable radio is perfect for staying in or venturing out and working your favorite bands this winter season. Happy holidays from Icom. The IC705 is the perfect sidekick and QRP companion. Base station features and functionalities at the tips of your fingers in a portable package, covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just under 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF bands and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 MHz. 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. 5 watts output with battery pack BP272 or 10 watts with external 13.8 volt DC. Single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. Micro USB connector, Bluetooth, and wireless LAN connectivity. Integrated GPS with antenna and GPS logger. Micro SD card slot. Speaker microphone HM243 comes standard, and it supports QRP and QRPP operations. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack. LC192 has a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for SOTA activations or a day out in the wild. Our family of favorite Icom amateur radios are available this holiday season. The IC9700, IC9300, and IC7610 base stations, ID52A handheld coming soon, and the ID5100A mobile, and it's the most wonderful time of the year to give the gift of Icom. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great Icom radios.
Muted. Oh, sorry about that. We do thank Icom for sponsoring Ham Nation. Really do appreciate it. As always, every time we have an episode, they do a giveaway. And the link is in the description. It is icomamerica.com/Ham Nation. And they give away a swag pack. They pick 3 winners, and that winners goes into the end of the month pool in which they give away an Icom radio. They're picking names for December now, so if you have not entered, do it right now. You can do it right now if you're watching us, or wait till after the show. They're giving away an ID52A for December, so make sure you get in on that. The winners for last month, or this month's swag giveaway and going into the end of the month prize is Wesley D, KM4EGI, Kevin D, WQ9F, and Gary N, K9JN. So thanks again to Icom, and I want to go back a step, so I'm going to pull back the host here, but we really do appreciate it. Take the link in the description. Let's go back up for a second, because we did get some questions on the Thanksgiving meetup that you're doing, Gordo. So what time do you think you'll be on the air?
We'll be on probably by 1100 hours Pacific time, 1200 Mountain, 1300 1 o'clock Central, and 2 p.m. on Eastern time. And we'll try and stay on for 2 or 3, maybe even 4 hours, as long as the wind is not howling. But if the wind is howling, we'll still be on from somewhere.
Okay. And if the wind is not too crazy, if there's anybody local and they want to come by and say hi, is there a frequency you monitor for Simplex?
Yes. For those that may be driving Pacific Coast Highway in Orange County, we're at the Seal Beach State Park, Bolsa Chica State Park, near Seal Beach. There we go. Bolsa Chica State Park. The frequency, Simplex, 144.33. 144.330. No up, no down, no tone. Just call out for, hey, Gordo, and we'll tell you how to get into the state park. May have to pay a few shekels at the gate, but they'll point you in the direction northbound and look for the antennas.
Very good. And then last, which modes are you going to be operating on? There's a couple of people that were wondering, are you going to be doing digital at all? I heard single sideband and Morse code, CW.
CW, certainly. We had talked about digital, but, in the sand, blowing sand on a computer, except for some very special ones, can be devastation for that computer, really, to stay working. So we don't do any of the digital modes other than maybe some of the digital modes on VHF or UHF, like D-Star or Fusion, or get onto IRLP on the Win system and try and make contacts. But for FT8 and some of the other digital modes, we'll wait till we're in a confined environment where not a single bit of sand will get us in trouble. But look for us on sideband as well as on CW.
If I go, I will be bringing a laptop and I'll do digital mode. If I can, if the wind's down and I can get the kids pacified enough, or they are actually interested in playing radio with me, I'll have my Panasonic Toughbook, and we can do
Good.
some FT8 with
Okay,
that.
that'll be a first. We'll have an inauguration of digital with Josh and his sons and maybe family.
That is not a specific event call sign or anything, right? Everybody's just going to be doing their call signs, right, Gordo?
Correct. Everybody does their own.
Okay, very good. All right, well, hopefully that answered the questions. Amanda, do you have a question?
You have a fan club in the chat room, Gordo, so I wanted to let you know about it. First, we have John Amadeo, AA6JA, that's paying attention.
Hey.
And yeah, say hi.
Good guy.
Hey,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, awesome guy. Also, Julian in 3FP. JP.
Oh,
is
yeah,
it in
Julian.
3FP? Yes, Julian's in there.
There's
So
Julian.
I just wanted to let you know that you had some fans in here saying Gordo rocks, and they're trying to come up with the ways that they can come down and see you. I told Johnny should just bring the margaritas and he'd be welcome with open arms. So.
No booze on the beach, they say.
Oh, that's terrible.
It'll just be
Rules
a
are made to be
huge
broken.
paper bag with just the whole
Exactly.
thing put into it.
That's
We'll figure
right.
out a way. Hams are creative.
So there you go, Gordo. Thank you so much.
Very good. All right, well, let's throw it over to Don. What's going on with Amateur Radio Newsline? Don, take it away.
Oh, we've got some good news, but first I want to talk a little bit about football, because, it's Thanksgiving, and football is just as big a part of it as the turkey is for the most part. And so today, I got up this morning and I looked on one of the broadcast newsletters that I get every day. And there's a radio station down in College Station, Texas. It's WTAW. Well, it didn't start out as WTAW. It started out as 5XB. And you'll recognize that as a very, very early amateur radio call sign. Before, they had the K's, A's, W's, and N's for the U.S. So the cool thing is, Wednesday, November 24th, 2021, today is the 100th anniversary of the very first play-by-play broadcast in the United States. And WTAW, formerly 5XB, is still carrying the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, here's the cool thing. How did they do a play-by-play back 100 years ago? It's kind of hard to see this on the screen, so I'll read a little bit of this for you. The only radio equipment at the press box was a key for transmitting and a pair of headphones for receiving. So it was CW. Licensed radio amateurs used a modified telegraphic code and a list of abbreviations. Of course, it's all Morse code for the action. For instance, Tango Bravo Alpha 45 Yankee. That meant Texas ball on the Aggies' 45-yard line. Now, on the receiving end at the University of Texas, they had those received abbreviations that were passed over a long table to somebody who relayed the decoded information over a horn speaker through an open window to the crowd outside. And here's the cool thing. What was the score, you say? A scoreless tie, 0-0. So that was the history of the very first play-by-play over the radio of a football game. Very, very cool. Actually, just the first play-by-play broadcast period, I believe it was. So, and if you want to find out more about that and a little bit more information, the easiest way to get to the website, it's the Whiskey 5 Alpha Charlie Club, and that is the Texas A&M Club. That's the page that you'll look for. The easiest way to get to that, because it's kind of an obscure URL, is just go to Google and put in 5XB space W5AC, and that will take you to that page of the Texas A&M Amateur Radio Club. So very, very cool. And my sister went to A&M, so very proud about that. So there you go, a little bit of Thanksgiving and football history. This date 100 years ago. Let's get into some more recent news that perhaps will be someone, well, not us, but someone may be talking about this 100 years from now. We'll see. And that would be the latest info from the Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2299, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, November 24th, 2021. We begin this week by putting out the welcome mat to some new radio amateurs on board the International Space Station. One of them is even in charge of the crew.
Congratulations to Raja Chari, KI-5LIU, the newest commander of a NASA space mission. Raja and his 3 fellow members of SpaceX Crew 3 are now aboard the International Space Station, having made the trip aboard the Endurance, which launched on Wednesday, November 10th. The U.S. Air Force test pilot from Iowa is the first rookie to command a NASA mission in several decades. The mission is expected to last 6 months. It promises to be a busy 6 months for the crew, which includes Matthias Maurer, KI-5KFH from the European Space Agency. The German astronaut will be involved in more than 35 experiments while on board the ISS. He will also be using the German call sign DP0ISS during a dozen scheduled contacts with German schools through the amateur radio on the International Space Station program. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9VPG.
For now, the newly constituted crew of the ISS is keeping a very low profile. The Russian military's intentional destruction of an old Soviet-era intelligence satellite has launched a cloud of space debris into low Earth orbit. That's a prime location for pieces to potentially strike and damage the ISS or any other low Earth orbiting satellite. As noted in an article on the National Geographic website, the expanding universe of space junk has spurred an even more critical need for space agencies such as NASA to track the paths of these fragments. While space agencies sorted out the situation, the astronauts were told to take shelter in the 2 capsules attached to the ISS, which could bring them back to Earth in an emergency. NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei, KG5GNP, later called the experience, quote, a great way to bond as a crew. Think you don't have room for an antenna? Researchers at Princeton University's Keller Center for Innovation and Engineering Education are experimenting with one antenna that's so small it might just blend into the wallpaper.
They're basing their work on something called large area electronics, which allows electronic circuits to be created on material that is both thin and flexible. As a result, they're hoping to develop an antenna array that could be incorporated into something as thin as wallpaper or even a skin patch. Their findings are published in the October 7th issue of Nature Electronics. A report on the phys.org website quotes Naveen Verma, the senior author of the study, describing how the researchers adapted zinc oxide thin film transistor technology for wireless use. They created a phased array of antennas in a row that is 30 centimeters or 1 foot long. Scientists said that to add to their usefulness, the antennas could be located practically anywhere, even as wallpaper in a room, making it potentially compatible with devices being developed as part of the Internet of Things. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Dave Parks, WB8ODF.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, Dave Parks, WB8ODF, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW, saying 7-3. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now here's a solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We have some fast solar wind that's hitting Earth right now and could bring aurora to high latitudes, and some big bright regions are rotating back into view. Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week calms down just a little bit, but it's not completely quiet. We do have some fast solar wind from an irregularly shaped coronal hole. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see that coronal hole in the south. Over the past couple days, the first part of it has rotated into the Earth strike zone, and it's been sending us some fast solar wind, which has brought some aurora to high latitudes, but not really down to mid latitudes. It has bumped us up to active conditions a little bit here and there, but then things kind of calm down, and yet we have a second part of of this coronal hole that's now rotating in through the Earth strike zone. And once again, the solar wind speed has jumped up a bit. Likely this time, though, the aurora is definitely going to stay at high latitudes. So aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, you're going to have to sit this one out most likely. Meanwhile, we also have regions 28, 96, and 97. They are kind of quietly traversing the Earth-facing disk, and they are boosting that solar flux up into the high 70s. It's not as high as we'd like. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you're sitting with marginal radio propagation. And that's going to be like that for the next few days, but we do have some good news on the sun's far side that I'll talk about in a minute. Meanwhile, the rest of the disk has got a few filaments here and there, but there's not a lot that's erupting. So we don't have any Earth-directed solar storms, and it looks like things are going to stay quiet for the next few days. Switching to your M-flare threat meter, as you can see, the X-ray flux is pretty low. As a matter of fact, it's sitting well below the seafloor right now, and that means by proxy the solar flux also continues to be low. We're sitting in the high 70s right now, which means marginal radio propagation on Earth's day side. In fact, as starting around the 17th, we kind of went into a lull, and that's been continuing for the last few days, and we haven't even been popping any flares of note. That's because region 28, 96, and 97 are pretty quiet. They're just kind of puttering across the disk right now. But we are beginning to climb out of that lull. In the next day or two, we're going to be back up into the low 80s, and it possibly could climb further in that, simply because we've got some new regions that are going to be rotating into Earth view over the next couple days. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, just hang in there because that solar flux will return. Switching to our solar storm conditions, I don't know about you, but I'm still reeling from that G3 level solar storm we had back on the 4th. As a matter of fact, we actually hit G3 levels 3 separate times, and we're storming for almost an entire day. And that was long enough to bring aurora deep into mid-latitudes and give us some of the most gorgeous displays of aurora, including rainbow aurora. And I'll highlight some of those photos in a little bit. But after that, we actually took a little time for Earth to stop ringing like a bell, so we stayed at active conditions kind of on and off until about the 7th, when things went back to unsettled to quiet conditions, and we stayed like that until about the 15th, when we bumped back up into active conditions. And this was due to that first pocket of fast solar wind that we've been experiencing over the past couple days. And you notice things then kind of quieted back down a little bit, but now we're beginning to ramp back up because now we're getting that second pocket of fast solar wind, and that should last for a few days before things quiet back down. It should bring aurora maybe to high latitudes. I don't think it's going to make it to mid latitudes. It just doesn't look like it's going to be strong enough. So we're just going to have to wait until we see, another G3 to get some of those gorgeous shows again. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are getting that fast solar wind hitting Earth right now from the second part of that coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone. And at high latitudes, NOAA is expecting active conditions with up to about a 50% chance of a major storm. Now, likely that's a little bit overblown. I don't think it's going to be quite that strong, but we could nevertheless see some aurora easily in through the early part of next week at high latitudes before things begin to die back down, just because this coronal hole is actually so kind of widespread. Now, mid-latitudes, we're only expecting unsettled to maybe active conditions. We do have about a 15% chance of a minor storm, but likely, again, I think this is a little bit overblown. It just doesn't look like the conditions are going to be quite right to bring aurora down into mid-latitudes. So your aurora photographers down here, you're going to have to kind of go back and just take a look at those G3 level storm pictures and just feel nostalgic until we get another big one, because this one definitely isn't going to be it. Meanwhile, things will then settle down as we get to the latter part of next week. So, relax, enjoy, and we'll have to wait for the next storm. So the space weather this week isn't all that exciting, but we do have a little bit of activity going on. We're being hit right now by a second pocket of fast solar wind from a coronal hole that's rotated into the Earth strike zone. As a matter of fact, we're going to be hit by this fast solar wind easily over the next couple days, and it could bring aurora down to high latitudes most likely. Mid-latitude aurora photographers, though, you're likely going to have to sit this one out because I just don't think it's going to give us enough to bring aurora down to mid-latitudes for this trip. So, just enjoy the beautiful pictures that we've had from that G3 solar storm, because we might get some activity maybe next week. We'll see. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you two are kind of a little bit in a lull because the solar flux is down into the high 70s right now. We are dealing with marginal radio propagation on Earth's day side, but you've got some luck in store because we do have those new bright regions that are rotating into Stereo's view and will rotate into Earth view here probably over the next 4 days or so, maybe a little bit longer, and we may be back to having M-flare players. We shall see. So who knows, maybe that solar flux will boost up into the 90s, possibly even triple digits. And now GPS users, well, you know what? The solar flux is down and we don't have any big solar storms headed toward Earth, so GPS reception pretty much all around the globe should look pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Dr. T. Always great information from her. Now, we always have to edit her reports because they're typically 11, 12, 13, 14 minutes long. So we had to pull out the Aurora pictures, unfortunately. But you can go and see her reports on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button, the notification button. It is Tamitha Skov. Very easy to find on YouTube. Of course, her Twitter is @Tamitha Skov, and her website is spaceweatherwoman.com. Take advantage of all of that and get the most accurate and up-to-the-second information that she posts. There's one of those beautiful, the Aurora was just absolutely gorgeous. You really need to go back and check out the pictures and that full report on YouTube. Tamitha Skov, that's her YouTube channel. So there you go. Great stuff, as always, from the crew at Amateur Radio Newsline. We've got the best crew in the world. And, of course, we're all volunteers, so keep that in mind. Let's go over to Joe, K0NEB, because he's got some ideas for kit builders. If you're a kit builder yourself, maybe you might want to pick up some things for yourself or some stocking stuffers for the kit builder in your life. Joe, what have we got on the list, on Santa's Good Kid list?
Well, Don, maybe we'll send you some coal, but
well, that's a given.
All right, let me see if we can pull up some pictures here, and I would bet that works. So now we're looking at a couple of items. Some of these I've presented before, and some of these I haven't, and these are great things to look at when you're talking about getting things like as a gift or giving things as a gift for the ham in your family or the family that are all hams. So the first item we're looking at here is the Schneider soldering station, which is $49.99, and that's available at Harbor Freight. Now, they have not had until this summer. They first came out with this, and it's actually temperature controlled, and it holds the temperature within plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius. So it's actually a pretty darn good little precise soldering station. And the difference being that you can buy it at a local store if you have a Harbor Freight nearby instead of having it shipped. So it's not a digital display or anything, but it's very accurate and keeps the temperature good. Comes with the stand and everything, and like I said, pretty low cost. But don't forget, Harbor Freight is one of those places that has these 10, 20, 30% off coupons and stuff and lots of sales. So watch those coupons and watch the offers, especially that you get in your email. It might make this a lot less expensive than $49.99. The next soldering iron we're going to look at is a TS100. Now, there's several different places that offer these online through eBay and especially Amazon, but they're all called a TS100 iron, and they're all pretty much the same. It has an OLED display, and like that of the soldering station, it has precise temperature control, but this is digital. And you can set its parameters by plugging in like a cell phone charging cable. It's a micro USB, and there's a file in there, and you can adjust that. And there's instructions in there. It tells you what the parameters are. So this is very small. It has a power supply that's about the size of a very small laptop power supply. Has up-down buttons that you use to turn it on and off and set the temperature. And once you let it sit for a while, it's like the full-size soldering stations. It will cool itself back down and idle so you don't burn up the tip. And you can turn it up for a while temporarily if you want, especially for doing desoldering and solder wick. So once again, this thing is also plus or minus a couple of degrees Celsius, and it's not very big, and I'll show it on camera in a little bit. But you can get replaceable tips for it, very tiny, very light, and it's great for traveling. I have used it several times. Instead of hauling a heavy soldering station, now when I fly, I can carry a very small box that has my tools and this little tiny iron, and $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I've got myself a cookie sheet and I'm ready to go. So once again, look for a TS100 soldering iron. You can look for it on Amazon or other online stores. It costs around $70 or more, depending on what's included, like extra tips and things like that. It does come with a cable now that lets you hook it to a LiPo type battery that's used for model cars, things like that. And it will work off of that kind of battery, and easily with an adapter cable that WeHams can make, you could probably plug it into one of those BioNo batteries and it would run that for quite a while as well. It runs on anything from 12 to 24 volts. One of the things here, this will give you an idea what that soldering iron looks like in comparison to everything else. You can see its little power supply. You can see a CW transmitter kit that we built at Pacificon, and you see a plastic ammo box. Well, that plastic ammo box comes from, guess where? Harbor Freight, okay? And it says it's $6.39 or something like that. And once again, I've seen them on sale for $3 or $3.50 or something like that. So watch the sales, never pay full price at Harbor Freight. There's always coupons and sales, and take advantage of it when you see the ammo boxes. Now, this is a 30 caliber box. They also have a bigger 50 caliber box, and when that's on sale, that's good too. I've been packing all my tools and stuff in, and I throw that in my suitcase that I check through on the airline. I don't have any security problems at all because it is not a metal box. So on the x-ray, they can see that there's tools and stuff in there. So it's not as suspicious as a big block of metal. All right, so let's take a look here at the next one. These are a few things to consider getting. Cookie sheets. You can get those like 3 different sizes for like $6 or $7 at Walmart. The plastic parts sorting thing is a something that's made by Plano, and it comes in tackle boxes, but you can also buy it on its own. You can also find them at craft stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and they have movable partitions so that you can set up different size chambers on there for your parts to sort out when you're building a kit. And of course, the lids flips over and snaps closed to keep your parts safe in between building times. And underneath that is a blue rubber thing called a soldering mat, and that's magnetic, and that can stick to the cookie sheet. And they come in a zillion varieties of sizes and colors and shapes and so on. So I didn't put any specific sources down for them, but if you go to Amazon and type in soldering mat, you're going to find those. This next one is a kit that's put out by the 4-state QRP group. And by the way, I've looked online, at least before when I wrote this up, to make sure that all this stuff is actually available right now. And because you'll find something that you want and you'll discover, oops, it's sold out. So hopefully the supply chain hasn't hurt some of these items. This is the Crick key. It's kind of designed to look like the Cricket, which is the famous 1-watt CW transceiver made by the 4-state QRP group. You'll see that it has 2 ICs and several resistors. I think only one resistor is different than the others. So this is a very, very good beginner's kit, and it makes a paddle that's also a keyer. Now, it's not a memory keyer. It's not real fancy. It runs on a 9-volt battery. And the way it turns on and off is when you plug in the cable into the jack in the back to plug it into your rig. And the little pot on the right adjusts the speed. Very, very simple kit. And I think it comes with the wooden plaque, and very, very easy to mount it and build it. And it's also a fun club project if you want to do that. This next kit sells for $209. But put your soldering iron away, because this kit, you don't need to solder. This is the MicroBitX version 6. Now you say, well, it comes from India. Well, the last time I ordered one, still in the middle of the pandemic, it took it about 5 days to get here. It was just amazing. And that $209 includes the overseas express shipping via DHL. This kit comes with the board already put together. All the cable assemblies are. You basically get the knobs and the screws and the nuts and bolts, and you assemble the case, and you put the board in there and you plug in all the stuff. It took me 45 minutes to assemble this, and I would say at least a third of that time was spent taking pictures and documenting it for my article in CQ. But it makes a neat little 8 to 10 watt QRP, CW, and sideband transceiver. And it covers the bands from 80 through 10. And it's got a color touchscreen. Let me see if I can switch that around. And you can see there is a color touchscreen there. And really kind of cute, and kind of a fun, simple rig. Get somebody started, at least they can listen to the bands and so on. And if you don't like QRP, well, there's a kit out there, which I will talk about sometime, that will raise that up to at least 50 watts. But you just touch the band you want, and away you go. It's got a lot of the features that the big rigs have, and it's only $209, and you don't have to solder it. You just put it together. This next kit you do solder, and it's got about 10 parts in there. And this is a code practice kit. You can either take your finger and touch the button, or you can plug in a key to the jack that's on the left. And the board is shaped so it fits in an Altoids tin. So, of course, you're going to want to use spacers to make sure that the board is not laying on the metal floor of the Altoids tin. But a very neat little code practice oscillator kit. And it's only $10. I don't know how much they get for shipping that, but not very expensive at all. And that crick key was only $25 plus shipping. These things, you're going to be looking for flush cutters and some good quality needle nose. Those are Exolite needle nose, and those are Play-Doh, 2 different styles of Play-Doh flush cutters. And then there's a very simple set of wire strippers. And those are available online from a number of different sources like DigiKey and Newark and others. But if you just look up Play-Doh flush cutters, you're going to find those, as well as the Exolite tools. Very inexpensive. I think the most expensive cutters in there was like $14. This is the part of the innards of a QCX Mini, and we talked about this before. This is basically a CW transceiver about the size of a deck of cards. Yes, you do have to wind all those toroids. So this is not a beginner's kit. This is a kit for somebody who's built a few kits, because it's pretty complex, but yet the parts count isn't as much as you think. And the reason is that all the surface mount parts are already mounted on the board. So you're only doing the through-hole parts, but that does include winding 4 or 5 toroids and putting together a kind of a complicated sandwich of 3 different boards. And this is what it looks like when it's all put together. And the bottom row of the display copies the CW. So you can see the CW scrolling across the bottom. This one's the 40-meter version. They do have them for 80 and 40 and 20, and I think 17 and 15, as well as 30. And this is available from QRP Labs. It's only $55 plus $20 for the case. There are other options like a TCXO for higher stability if you're going to be doing like whisper and things like that with it, because it has a whisper beacon mode. It does a whole bunch of fancy things. So for $75, it's really quite a bargain, but it is not a beginner's kit. I would say that code oscillator and the crick key are definitely beginner's kits. This is for your more advanced kit builder that really wants something nice to build over the winter and take out in the spring and summer when the weather's warmer. And finally, when you're building kits, I've discovered that it's great to have one of these devices called a component tester. And I'm going to sound like the Ronco man, like it slices it, dices it, purees, whatever. But in reality, you can just take a part and you put it across the terminals there, and it will tell you which leg is what. Like on a resistor, it just shows it's a resistor. If it's a capacitor, it'll show you what that is. It'll tell you if it's a PNP or NPN or MOSFET or an SCR or a Darlington pair. It'll tell you if it's a diode. It'll tell you which lead is the collector base emitter or drain gate and source or anode and cathode. It will measure an inductor, and it will tell you its DC resistance as well as its inductance. So it's a really, really neat tool to have, and it's only $18.49. And it's pretty amazing what it does for that little money, and very, very worthwhile. If your eyes are like mine and you can't read the white letters on those darn tiny itty bitty blue capacitors, well, you just stick it in there and push the button and it tells you what it is. Here's a link, actually a set of links, and Josh is also putting this onto the YouTube site for this broadcast. And these are all of the information on each of the items that we've talked about. So I think we're going to hand it over to Josh, who is going to take over for Amanda, who is busy right now. And we're going to, let's see, we're going to see if my awful face shows up back on the screen. And
yep,
there you are.
We see you. Thanks so much.
There it is.
I love all the lists. All the time you show something, it's like, oh, I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, there's two things that I love the just cutters, hand tools. A ham's best friend. If you don't know what to get for a ham, some flush cutters. Good ones though. What $20, Joe, for a pair of good cutters? Generally $20.
Actually, the blue Planos, I've been getting them for about $6 or $7.
Oh,
wow.
And
the things that were more expensive were the Exolite needle nose, and that's because they're a lot nicer than the $2 ones you get at Harbor Freight, but they're more precise, and the spring is a lot easier on your hands, so you don't get cramps. The Platos actually have a pretty nice spring also, and they're not as expensive, but you saw there's two different styles. Your $6 ones, those blue ones, and then the other ones with the bigger handles give you a little bit more leverage, so it takes just a little bit less hand muscle action to cut the wires.
Indeed, and I also like Brett Glass in the chat just above me said, good gift, power pole crimpers and a starter kit of connectors. Great buy if you know they don't have a crimper, but even a second crimper is not bad because you can put it in a toolkit somewhere that stays with your your Go kit or whatever. I love it. So a couple of housekeeping items. Want to go back here to the Icom giveaway for a second and actually pull that up will help. There you go. So I was just informed that yes, if you want in on the ID52 giveaway, enter today. Enter for this week's episode of Ham Nation. Go to that Enter Now button. When you pull up the website, the link is in the description for the video, and you will be in the contest giveaway for that ID52, which will be next month. So just keep that in mind. There was a comment that came in from Ham Radio Hobo, and it said, "Hey, Don, what about WTW? When are they going to play Christmas music?" Do you know about that, Don? Was that the Don? That Don? Your Don?
Yeah, he was probably talking to me. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the folks over at WTWW in a while, but I'm sure that, I mean, they always do every year, so I see no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, every other radio station's doing it, so yeah, no, they'll have their annual Christmas programming on for sure.
Okay. And let's see, one more thing. Joe, the Micro BitX, does the price include that case you had it in?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the price, including the case and shipping.
That's wonderful. Okay, very
That's
good.
nice.
Well, Amanda had to hop out. She may be having some plumbing problems, so she hopped off. Nothing to worry about. Everybody's okay there. Just wanted to mention that. Let's go around the room. I'll start with Gordo. Gordo, how any last words or anything you want to mention for tomorrow?
We're ready. We've got our solar panels and our wind guards. We'd love to have your digital station up and zooming. And so I think we're set. So we sure hope to work all of our Ham Radio Crash Course Ham Nation members on the air tomorrow. 20 meters, 15 meters, maybe even 10 meters sideband. And for generals and above, 29.6 on FM. You'll be amazing the quality if the band is open.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, Joe,
We'll
thanks.
be listening.
Yep, thanks. And thanks again for your kit list again. That's a good tips for gifts to get hams. Anything you want to mention before we head out here?
Nope. Just to have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll look forward to Chip and Gordo on HF tomorrow, and we'll swing the beam towards Southern Cal.
All right.
Roger.
And before I throw to Dawn, I got to make sure I do all the Amanda things. Mentioning the nets, there will be nets, particularly the D-Star 14 Charlie net, which will be on after the show, or they could have already gotten started. Are there other nets, Dawn, that are live this week? I know Amanda does a check beforehand, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention, but I mean, she mentions it every week, so you probably know where they are. Just go to the usual spots and tune around and listen, and I'm sure that you will find them. So that's I haven't written the list down in a long time, and I'm sure it's changed since I did, and I wouldn't be able to find that piece of paper now anyway if my life depended on it.
All right. Again, somebody asked in the chat, link for the kit list. It's in the video description for this video. Just go to the video description. You can find it. Dawn, anything you want to mention before we head out here?
I'm just extremely thankful for all the blessings in my life. I'm very thankful for the whole Ham Nation crew. I'm very fortunate to be part of this. We've been going for 10 years now. It's pretty amazing. I'm very thankful for the Amateur Radio Newsline crew and how that we all pulled together after Bill's passing a number of years ago, and best crew in the world. And I'm very thankful for all of the ham radio friends that I've made over the last 25 years now. God, doesn't seem possible that I've been a ham for 25 years now. I have so many things to be thankful for that I can't even begin to mention them all. But if you're feeling blessed as well, go out and do something nice for someone else. Just, pay it forward. That's what it's all about. So someone does something nice for you, remember, blessings don't expire and blessings don't degrade. When you get a blessing and you pass it on, it's 100% full strength when that person gets it. And then when they pass it on, it remains 100% full strength to the next person. So make sure that we fill the world with blessings. And that's kind of my thoughts for Thanksgiving.
Wonderfully said. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I would like to close it on that because it's so good, but somebody asked about Discord. No Discord after chat today. It is the day before Thanksgiving. I got to go help with stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely got to go pack a bag because I'm going to be heading out to see Gordo tomorrow, if the wind permits. But Don, wonderfully said. That was beautiful. All right, everybody. I think we're going to wrap it up. So we'll just say 73. See you later. Have a great Thanksgiving.
We appreciate you. We love you all. Good night.
Be safe. Don't burn something down with that hot oil, okay?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Okay.